What if the Arizona Cardinals never hired Bruce Arians? Or how about this? What if Santonio Holmes never toe taps in the Super Bowl? Johnny Venerable, we're asking the biggest what ifs in Cardinals history.
It's what if PHNX Cardinals ahead of 2025 training camp, and it starts now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, What If Edition. Your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I, of course, am Johnny Venerable. He is Bo Brack in his black and white today, and a very gray day for PHNX Cardinals as we look into the gray for what if. Noah Man behind the mic. Everybody smash that like button. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. A fun, diverse conversation incoming, Bo. And we're going to get into the good, and there's going to be some bad associated with this combo.
Some real ugly scenarios, right?
Yeah.
But look, I know you're probably wondering to yourself, where the hell were you guys at 4:30? Well, we're ready for prime time today on Monday because it is our rank week, our what if series, and we're excited to get into some hypotheticals there as far as it goes for the Arizona Cardinals and some what ifs. And we've got a long list. We've got 10 of these, and we're not going to let it just kind of really stop momentum on our position preview series either. We're going to get into those later in the show, but yeah, the good, the bad, the ugly as far as the what ifs and the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, you mentioned primetime. The Cardinals are like, hey, Johnny, Bo, we never get any primetime games. Can you guys just do your show in primetime? We said, yeah, we'll knock that rust off ahead of the Thursday night game and the Monday night game this year. Very special, 7 p.m. Crack open a cold one here. We're going to get started with our what if series. And again, these are 10 what ifs that Bo and I put together. Again, what if moments in Arizona Cardinal history, most of them very recent and very relevant. Bo, let's kick things off with number 10. What if the Arizona Cardinals had drafted Adrian Peterson? We all remember that fateful Saturday in 2007. The Arizona Cardinals had the 5th overall pick in the 2007 NFL draft, and they chose Levi Bust Brown, offensive tackle out of Penn State. They were hoping, if you talk to anybody around the organization at the time, they were hoping for Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
Of course, the Browns ended that dream at pick number 3. Gaines Adams, Bust, defensive end from Clemson, goes 4 to Tampa, and the Cardinals had their choice. Do you want a middling, ridiculously bad pass protecting tackle from Penn State, or do you want a generational running back in Adrian Peterson? The Cardinals said, give us the tackle, and we know the rest is history, Bo.
What are we doing? Just submit the card. Take Adrian Peterson. Yes, and you're taking us back to a time where we were a proper country, and we did all 7 rounds of the NFL draft in one day. It was unbelievable. You just sat up in the morning, and you would just follow the draft all day, watch it on TV. If you had something to do, you'd have it on radio. Then you go back, and your team is still drafted in the 6th, 7th round later on. But early in that draft, man, did the Arizona Cardinals really kind of do themselves a disservice. When you look at Adrian Peterson, I mean, MVP. He's nearly 15,000 yards rushing, 7-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. As you said, generational type talent. What he would have done for that offense, in the 2007 draft that's preceding their Super Bowl run, would have been nice to have to couple with that passing attack that we all fell in love with, headed by Kurt Warner, Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden, and Steve Breston.
It's going to go down as maybe the greatest first 15 picks in the history of the NFL draft. I'm counting right now. I believe there will be 6 Hall of Famers in the first 14 picks. Calvin Johnson, Joe Thomas, Adrian Peterson, Patrick Willis, Marshawn Lynch and Darrelle Revis went between picks 2 through 14.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals said, we don't want any of that. And especially with Adrian Peterson. Now, if you remember, the Cardinals had just signed Adrian James the offseason before in 2006. Remember that fateful photo of Michael Bidwell and Adrian James shaking hands outside of the brand new, what was University of Phoenix Stadium, now State Farm Stadium, and there were good vibes. And then we watched Adrian James play football in 2006, and he looked done. He looked pretty washed, right? And so the Cardinals then turned their attention to the draft, and they said to themselves, okay, well, here's the thing. We like Adrian Peterson, but we have edge, and we paid him a lot of money. It would be the equivalent of the Cardinals this year saying, well, we like Walter Nolan, but we just signed a bunch of free agent defensive tackles the last 2 years. We don't need that caliber player. Now, thankfully, Monty Ossenford knows what he's doing, but the Cardinals said, we don't want Adrian Peterson. We have edge. Yeah. So I guess we better get into the what if of this scenario, Bo.
Yeah. Well, if you select Adrian Peterson, we all remember the unbelievable 2016 season from David Johnson, right? 20 total touchdowns, over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. There they went 1,000. Now, Adrian Peterson could catch the football. I think his first touchdown was a long reception that he took to the house. But this is a guy, you would get David Johnson essentially each and every year. Like, we know that David Johnson's shelf life, it didn't last long, right? It was the not for long league with David Johnson, but it was with Adrian Peterson, and you would have had that, and you would have gotten that notoriety as an organization. Instead, it was this revolving door as far as that running back position. Adrian Peterson would have been a staple in the backfield for the Arizona Cardinals. He would have been synonymous with the team. Fantasy football players, I think you would have probably generated some buzz each and every season that transcended even the valley that you haven't really had outside of Larry Fitzgerald.
I feel very confident in saying this. If the Cardinals draft Adrian Peterson, they win the Super Bowl in 2008.
Damn.
I mean, how do they not?
I'm looking at the rushing stats. I mean, 29th in rushing yards that season as far as a team.
And do you want to know what Adrian Peterson did in 2008? 1,700 yards, 4.8 yards per clip, 10 rushing touchdowns. He averaged 5.6 yards per clip as a rookie.
Yeah.
So the Cardinals win 500 in Ken Wisenhunt's rookie season as head coach in 2007. I feel confident in saying the Cardinals firmly make the playoffs that season, whether it's with Leinart, Warner, a combination, and then the next year they go into their Super Bowl season. Yes, the defense still not very good. The offensive line would have needed to sign a free agent tackle. But with Adrian Peterson, Kurt Warner, Larry Fitzgerald, and Anquan Bolden, 4 Hall of Famers at your skill positions, they win the Super Bowl. They likely probably have a top 3 seed in the NFC. They host probably multiple playoff games. I feel very confident in that.
Yeah.
Because Adrian James, to me, he was productive during the Super Bowl run, but the rookie season and the follow-up for Adrian Peterson are some of the most kind of jaw-dropping highlights I've seen from a first or second year running back. I remember he had 2 games in particular as a rookie, one against the Bears and one against, I think, the Chargers, and just abused people in the open field. His jump cut is historic. This is not a running back that, like Derrick Henry, remember, first couple of years in the league, it was ramp it up a little bit, couple middling seasons. Adrian Peterson came into the NFL in the mid to late 2010s or mid to late 2000s and was the best running back in the NFL.
Yeah,
unequivocally.
I mean, he changed the way people kind of looked at how you could return from an ACL tear. I mean, he came back and he was the MVP of the league at a running back.
Yeah,
as a running back, it was unbelievable. So Johnny throwing down big time statement. I think they won the Super Bowl. They take Levi Brown 5th overall, or they take Adrian Peterson 5th overall. They're Super Bowl champions at some point during that little tenure there. So Adrian Peterson, if he's a Cardinal, that's our 10th what if, as we're just ramping up here. What if day, what if week here across PHNX Sports. No, let's see number 9. We got what if Kyler Murray doesn't get hurt in the 2020 season finale. Johnny, let me set some context up for this one.
Please.
The Arizona Cardinals in 2020 went into Los Angeles and we're taking on John Walford in the Los Angeles Rams with the NFC West on the line. The winner of that game punched its ticket to the postseason. All they had to do is their win. They get in. Kyler Murray banged up his ankle in that contest. left early. We know the rest. Chris Streveler comes in. Cliff Kingsbury doesn't play to Streveler's strengths. He's having him try to throw the football around, and the Cardinals can't get any offense going. They lose, 18-7 in that game, and they are sitting at home for the postseason. What could have been an early arrival for the Kyler Murray era just in his second season, potentially going to the playoffs.
What if Kyler Murray is healthy for that game? I'm going to throw a wrench in this equation. I don't think it matters.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you right now, everybody look back to the week prior than this, when the Cardinals were 8-6, hosting at home in front of a capacity crowd of about 10 people because it was COVID times. The San Francisco 49ers with C.J. Beathard beat the Arizona Cardinals handedly the week before. The Cardinals had run out of gas. The Cardinals' offense was egregiously bad, and that was with Kyler Murray. Don't think it matters. I think Kyler Murray, unfortunately, at the end of that year with Cliff Kingsbury, there was no mojo, no juice. I think Sean McVay finds a way to get a win at home, regardless of that's how that season ended. Again, everybody go back and pull up that matchup the week before against San Francisco. That was the division. That was the time for Cliff Kingsbury to punch his ticket. They couldn't do it. It was really unfortunate, too, because think about it, the San Francisco 49ers had been living in Arizona. They couldn't return to San Francisco because of COVID regulations. They couldn't play there. So they were basically living in hotels with their families for multiple weeks. They had nothing to play for. That told me everything I needed to know about that 2020 team. And again, and that is where I would caution people, with all due respect, that think Cliff Kingsbury is a future head coach once again, because those are the instances where you got the better quarterback, you're at home, you got the better roster. Didn't matter. You got to have the ability to motivate, and he just couldn't do that. So, Kyler Murray's healthy in the finale. I don't think they do it.
I'm disagreeing, because I'm looking at how the Rams and how they tried to get any points with John Wolford at quarterback, and really legitimately, he in that offense, they accounted for 3 field goals. He got 9 points running regular offense. In between that, you had a Justin Pugh penalty in the end zone that resulted in a safety, and then also a pick 6 from Streveler that went 84 yards from Troy Hill. So you've got 9 points there that you were able to get that out, that matched the 9 points you got from your kicker. The Cardinals actually led this game 7-0 before Kyler Murray went out. Streveler somehow had a touchdown pass to Jonathan Ward, and they went up 7-0 and then got beat 18. Had an 18-0 run on the back end of this. I think that the Cardinals, I mean, you're talking about a John Wolford-led offense from the Rams. That
C.J. Beathard the week before.
You're just going to be you're going to be able to limit the mistakes, like this 84-yard pick 6. I know, like, Kyler Murray has struggled in his career against the Rams, but I think you can safely say that probably doesn't make that same mistake, and you're probably setting yourself up for at least a couple field goals. And it's a tighter contest than 18-7, an 11-point game.
Yeah, to me, that team was ready to go to Cancun. That team was ready to go to Maui. They were like, we've done our work here. We'll take a 500 season. So that is what if number 9. What if Kyler Murray gets hurt in the finale? But when I disagree, what about this one? This one's a painful one. Buckle up, friends. Number 8. What if the Arizona Cardinals hire Andy Reid in 2013? Here's some context for you, Bo. The Arizona Cardinals had fired Ken Wisenhunt. The Arizona Cardinals immediately made a beeline for the recently dismissed out of Philadelphia, Andy Reid. Then there was that fateful Adam Schefter kiss of death tweet. I'll never forget where I was. Do you remember where you were? That said, Andy Reid, per source, has a 99% chance to become the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Wow.
And then what happened? The Hunt family, big-time frauds, swooped in, intercepted Andy Reid, and Andy Reid's people said, we're just going to do a quick stop-off in Kansas City, and they did not let him leave. They basically gave him ownership of personnel, something who knows if Michael Bidwell would have been willing to do. I think probably. Yeah. And the Arizona Cardinals never got to meet with Andy Reid. So that is painful. That, because you think about, I mean, is Andy Reid going to end up number 1 head coaches in the NFL history alongside Bill Belichick?
You would have loved to see what he could do. Now, I mean, it did turn into, it wasn't all like, hey, you missed out on Reid and you weren't able to find success. That's completely the opposite. It's probably the most successful era of Cardinals football in the
Cardinals
Valley.
were more successful earlier.
Yeah.
As Reid was
right.
with Alex Smith, which is crazy.
Look, I mean, Reid is a proven franchise builder. He did it in Philadelphia with countless amount of times in the NFC Championship game, Super Bowl appearance, always a team that was in the mix. I think the only time he wasn't in the mix was the end of his Eagles tenure, and they just cut bait, right? And it was the rest of the league's beneficiary there, especially the Chiefs here. You would have loved to see the Hawaiian shirts, the playful personality along with all the wins coming to town. But then there's like the oil water. Like, would he mix with Steve Keim? Would he have? I mean, we saw Steve Keim with a head coach that knew how to build a winner, but I quickly got tired of dealing with what was going on in the GM seat. Like, how long would Andy Reid been able to kind of deal with that, or if at all? Like, in this what if scenario, because it's important. If you bring in Andy Reid, do you not have Steve Keim?
I think Steve Keim would have really had to impress Andy Reid. I think Steve Keim at the worst probably would have remained in his current role. I think Andy Reid probably would have wanted to bring in his own general manager like a Scott Pioli.
Yeah.
Or somebody who I think he joined up with a little bit in Kansas City early on. I think Michael Bidwell was desperate, and I think that they probably would have let Andy Reid pick his personnel person, and Keim would have just been probably a fly on the wall. Maybe he leaves the organization. Who knows? But I think if they signed Andy Reid in 2013, Bo, I think Alex Smith comes here potentially. I think you're talking about just consistent 9-10 win seasons. And then who knows, 2017, we'll talk about it later. It's like, does Andy Reid find his franchise Super Bowl winning quarterback? But what's difficult about it is I don't know if he ever would have won a Super Bowl here, because here's what I will say. The division in the NFC West, much more difficult than the AFC West that he has had to face for most of his tenure. The Raiders are a disaster. The Chargers are cheap from the Spanos family. And the Broncos had one good run because of a dominant defense, and then they flamed out, right? Mm-hmm. Like, Andy Reid didn't win early in Kansas City because Peyton Manning was dominating. But then since then, he's cleaned up on a bad division. You come here, Andy Reid, Pete Carroll, Kyle Shanahan, and eventually Sean McVay, like that has proven to be an undertaking for Arians and Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, and hopefully not Jonathan Gannon. So it's hard to project, but they would have been winners and relevant and everything that you want.
Biggest what if so far? I absolutely, as we make our list way down the list, 7 more to go here, and it's Ranks What If Day here on PHNX Cardinals. Make sure you're subscribed. Like this video. We continue the conversation with more what ifs, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's coming around right next here on PHNX Cards.
Speaking of good, that keeps the ugly away. How about our friends at All Pro Shades Concepts? These ugly heating temperatures here. I'm going to tell you right now. Extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning that can keep your patio up to 20 degrees cooler. So if you're doing the math at home, it was 118 here the other day. So you're talking about I could be sitting sub 100 degrees. Sign me up for that. Hundreds of colors, durable fabric to choose from. Again, manual or motorized. They can come out. They can take stock inventory of what you got. You got something shabby in the back. Maybe they can spruce it up for you, but you're never going to know unless you give them a call. Voted the #1 local shade company by Arizona Patio Shades in 2024. That's because they've got the BBB A+ rating with over 1,000 5-star reviews. They've been in business in the Valley for over 20 years, and they're ready to work for you. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Give them a call right now, 623-204-1476. That's 623-204-1476, or visit allproshadesconcepts.com. Again, get that free estimate today.
Love that. Get a free estimate from our friends over at Empire Today for your flooring needs. Empire Today is the best spot and the #1 spot, the only spot you turn to when you need flooring, whether it's hardwoods, carpeting, laminate, tiles. They've got the professionals that are going to make it quick, easy, convenient for you to upgrade your flooring no matter what the dwelling. Check out their virtual floor designer as well so you can see it come kind of into your dreams, out of your dreams, and onto the computer screen. And you can see how exactly it would look before you make this huge decision for you, your family, your house. you want to invest in, you always want to upgrade, and this is the best way to do the flooring. Empire Today, save money now. Schedule your free in-home estimate today because things are better when they're free in-home. PHNX listeners receive $350 discount when using the promo PHNX. You heard that right? $350 off with the code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today/PHNX for full details.
We got the details here. The what if details. Shield your eyes. It gets worse here on PHNX Cardinals, but help us out. Ease that frustration by dropping us a like. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Keeping things going. Number 7. Noah, man, let's cue it up. What if the Arizona Cardinals don't shock the Minnesota Vikings in the 2003 finale, thus securing the number 1 overall pick in that fateful draft that featured, I don't know, several Hall of Fame level players? Again, Bo, what if the Cardinals don't beat the Vikings in the finale? And what if they have the first overall pick? Do they take a certain Tennessee quarterback?
Ole Miss. It's Eli Manning.
Eli Manning. I screwed that up.
It was the infamous draft where Arch and the Manning family refused to go to the Chargers, and they still took him number 1 overall, but then pulled off a trade where Phillip Rivers and some draft capital went the way of the Chargers for Eli Manning. So he goes 1-1. Robert Gallery, you can kind of debate whether you think he had a successful season. The tackle out of Iowa went to the Raiders 2nd overall. And then the Cardinals took Larry Fitzgerald. I don't know if I should go too far here because I know your thoughts on this.
Yes.
You think that it doesn't matter if they're picking 1 or if they're picking 3. They were going to take a player regardless.
I think they would take Larry Fitzgerald first overall. There were people around the organization like you. I think I've heard Darren Urban say this before, that they, like Danny Green was telling people, like regardless, they were taking Larry Fitzgerald. And who knows, maybe that would have changed. Maybe the Bidwell family would have been like, no, Denny, like we're going to take a Manning. We want what that could do for our franchise. But they had just drafted Josh McCown, and they liked what they saw, you know, and they felt like they had something to work with. And there was an infatuation with Fitzgerald, rightfully so, from Denny Green. And then the biggest factor, the Mannings probably would have said no to the Cardinals at that time. They did not have the stadium built yet. It was in the works, but they didn't have it ready to go. And they had no history of winning. And so it's like if the Manning family said no to the Chargers, like why would they say yes to the Arizona Cardinals? Yeah. So I also think the Bidwells probably didn't want that press. I think it's like one of those things where you don't ask a girl out because you're fear of rejections. It's like, I'm not interested in her either. It's like, well, okay, let's keep things in perspective. She was never going to go out with you. So I do think like that would have factored into it. The Chargers had no direction. They had no players. They desperately needed a quarterback before that run with Phillip Rivers. But to me, it's like it was obvious. The Cardinals were always going to take Fitz.
It was always Larry, and it was the right pick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Larry Fitzgerald, I know you can go Eli Manning. You say Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls, but Eli Manning really kind of rode the coattails of 2 very good defenses from the New York Giants. Like a lot had to go right.
Yeah,
he did. Is he a Hall of Famer? Is Eli Manning going to be a Hall of Famer?
Just because of the influence of the East Coast market, probably.
I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's a rubber stamp Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. Like first ballot. Yeah, there's no debate. So I know it's most important position in sports, first, wide receiver, but Larry made his impact his entire tenure here. Can't deny that. Maybe if they, don't complete that pass and just stomp on the Vikings fans' hearts like they did in that game, and they don't complete it, and Minnesota goes to the playoffs, and the Cardinals are the number 1 overall pick. Maybe do they hire Dennis Green?
Maybe, or maybe I don't know. It's a great question. And to me, it's always been like Eli Manning's like the 3rd best quarterback, I think, of those 3 that are drafted. So, but Cardinals were never in on Roethlisberger. They were never in on Phillip Rivers. So Dennis Green was going to make sure Fitz was a Cardinal the minute he selected to be the GM.
Let's keep it going here. What if week? That one, it wasn't like a wet blanket. I mean, you hit Larry Fitzgerald. You continue to have your favorite player that you ever watched wear a Cardinals uniform, catch touchdowns, walk off nearly Super Bowl champion. Let's keep it going here. with what ifs. How about staying with the Manning family? What if the Cardinals sign Peyton Manning after he exited the Colts organization? They bottomed out and they wanted to pivot at the quarterback position. They had the first overall pick, took Andrew Luck, making Peyton Manning after neck surgery a free agent. Johnny, they flirted with Manning. He took the PJ. He had meetings with the Cardinals. And it was really nice, but at the same time where they used maybe as leverage for Peyton Manning with other teams.
Well, and like he had respect for Russ Grimm and Ken Wisenhunt, and so that's why he took the meeting. This is a very painful point for your boy. So this was in 2011, 2010-ish, maybe, right around there.
This was the 2012
Okay, 2012, excuse me. Yeah, the offseason where they pivoted to Kevin Cobb. That was painful because it was like early Twitter days. And if you ask my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, like I was addicted to Twitter. More so than I am even now. I was so wrapped up in this. I was convinced after he took that visit and we saw that picture, he and Ken Wisenhunt walking, like he was going to sign and I was going to miss the notification. I was on my phone for like 10 days straight on Twitter. And it created an unfortunate love affair that goes on today. But for me, it's like, if they sign him, Wisenhunt sticks around, everybody, it's like status quo from the Super Bowl. They just keep it going. I don't think they ever win a Super Bowl. I think there were too many limitations we saw with that staff. And then certainly with how they team build under Rod Graves, Manning would have had all the influence offensively. Defensively, though, it was always going to be difficult. Clancy Pendergast, but they did, they had a couple DCs toward the end there that did a nice job. For me, it's like they would have won the division. The division was terrible at the time. They would have been relevant, hosted playoff games, but I don't think they would have ever won a Super Bowl with Peyton. It took Peyton getting with a historically great defense to do that. So unfortunate, but I mean, definitely would have been interesting.
It was the end of Wiz.
Yeah.
I mean, they go into that year 2012 and somehow they win 4 straight games to start.
Yep.
And then Kevin Cobb gets banged up. Season's over. They go on a 11-game losing skid. It was just brutal to watch. It was one of my first seasons covering the team. I remember during that off season with Peyton Manning, the wacky radio station I worked for changed its studio name to Peyton Manning Studios. There was this big courtship between the Valley and Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning just didn't realistically really want to be here. And you look at points for that season, Cardinals were second to last in the league as far as points scored. Just a brutal offense. For me, if we get into the what if, what does it do for Larry Fitzgerald? Because soon after that, Larry Fitzgerald with Bruce Arians reinvented himself, played the slot. Would that have happened? Would they have kept Larry outside? Would they have brought in guys like Denver did with Wes Welker and stuff? Would Peyton Manning have taken on as many hats? I'm sure he would have. That he did with Denver, where he's the offensive coordinator and GM at the same time. So that's the really fun part of all of this. But you look at it as 31st overall in points for. You had Larry Fitzgerald, Michael Floyd. You had Beanie Wells on that team. But just nobody that could throw the ball.
Yeah, the Cardinals didn't have the infrastructure, unfortunately, to support Peyton Manning. So. In real time, we thought it was going to be our ticket back to relevance, and it would have been, but it would have been short-lived. Again, because Manning only lasted just a few more years. Keeping things going here, number 5. What if here on PHNX Cardinals What If Week? What if Kyler Murray had played baseball? What if Kyler Murray had said during that Dan Patrick interview that we all know, I'm actually going to play baseball? I've had a great season. I won the Heisman. I love football, but right now I made a commitment to the Oakland Athletics. They picked me in the top 10. I love baseball, and I'm going to start, with the minor league grapefruits, grape nuts, whatever they're called, and I'm going to ride the bus to the minors this year.
Right.
It would have been ridiculous. But for the interest of this exercise, Kyler Murray played baseball, Bo.
If he played baseball, I think he makes his way to the major leagues. I think he becomes a good big league player. He's never a guy that's going to have gotten himself into a position in the major leagues to make $50 million a season like he did,
right?
Like he's done at the NFL level. It probably turns into an outfielder for the A's, and I think he could come close to being an all-star caliber baseball player. Like he's that good. But yeah, he doesn't scratch the surface of being a franchise quarterback in the NFL, and I think that's the allure. And I think he chose right. He chose right. Like he would have been a good ball player, and that's what makes Kyler Murray so unique, so special, that he could have done it in 2 professional sports. But him taking on football was the right move, because I mean, you do avoid riding a bus from Visalia to Stockton or Sacramento, wherever you may be riding, and also you probably avoided playing for even like a worse organization. Like the Oakland Athletics are a disaster. Yeah. And, as good as their GM is, and that's well documented, they're notoriously cheap as they come, and they're taking their ball and they're going to Las Vegas as they have already exited Oakland. So I'm glad he avoided that. Yeah.
Let's talk about it from the Cardinals' perspective, because I think that's the more interesting aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Rosen's their starter in 2019 with Cliff Kingsbury. What would they have done? They probably would have lost a lot. It would have been ugly. And I think you're talking about, like, they would have rolled with Rosen solo in 2019. Then you're going to have like an Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones scenario where, like, 2020 season, they probably bring in a veteran to compete with Rosen. The veteran and he probably split reps, and it's obvious. The Cardinals are still bad, though. And I think Cliff Kingsbury and Keim and Rosen are all jet-setted after the 2020 season. And then 2021, it's another soft/hard reset, rebuild. So for all the people that whine and complain about Kyler Murray, the relevance of this franchise went up, and the alternative would have been disastrous. I mean, we would have had – they'd probably still be looking for answers at the position, and we would have not have – the 2020 season – was painful at the end. They were 500. 2021, they made the playoffs. There was some good football that was played because of Kyler Murray. Rosen as an extended starter, that's a death nail for Kingsbury and Keim. They would have been toast.
He was bad, and it wasn't just hey, the Cardinals ruined him. He went on to Miami. He was one and done in Miami, and then I think he's got a LinkedIn page where he's not working in football anymore. He's working at the school that his family was part of, right? Like the Welton School or something like that. Regardless, not a knock on Josh Rosen. He just wasn't a franchise quarterback. And do they look at an offseason after what they saw from 13 games from Josh Rosen? They look at like Nick Foles. Do they look at, Ryan Fitzpatrick? The options weren't good as they never are. The draft certainly didn't have it, because after Kyler Murray, it was Danny Dimes in the late who's the kid out of Ohio State that passed recently?
Cardale Jones. No, not Cardale Jones. It was
Dwayne Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins. That's right, Noah.
Those were the only first-round quarterbacks.
Bad year for QBs outside of Kyler Murray, unfortunately, for Daniel Jones. And so we are very fortunate Kyler Murray opted to take off that Oakland Athletics hat and opt for football, because it was always football. You win the Heisman Trophy. You're not going playing minor league baseball. This isn't the minor leagues. This is the big leagues, friends.
You say that. Tim Tebow did that. After a failed NFL career, he did go and ride the bus in the minors in his 30s.
We're keeping things going right around the corner with our top 4 what ifs. It's PHNX Cardinals.
Man, oh man, pure edibles. You're probably thinking about all these what ifs. This would enhance a what if program with a pure edible. It would be fantastic. You take one of their gummies that you can find over 130 dispensaries statewide here in Arizona, and you'll find that this Pure Edibles is a full-fledged candy company that put all the love and care into it that any candy company would. Plus, you've got the little gummies that have CBN, CBG, CBD with marijuana derived from THC. Also have candies for sleep support, uplifting, derived from unique cannabinoids. So much going on with Pure Edibles, and they are the experts. Of course, it was started up up the road, I-17 in Flagstaff. Now call Phoenix home. Check them out right now. They're designed to be ripped or bit in half, making them easily shareable, easy to dial in that exact dose. In fact, on each 10, you can find the effects and what to expect from those effects with Pure Edibles. Go find yourself some Pure Edible products from one of the 130 dispensaries across Arizona. Pure Edibles.
Big thanks to our friends at Pure Edibles. Big thanks to our friends at APS who are keeping my house and hopefully your house at the right temperature, whether you're home or away. Again, it's time to celebrate with these temperatures, but you got to be smart and stay safe. Even when you're in the pool, enjoying the holiday festivities like 4th of July, also be smart about your energy costs. Nearly half of energy costs come from cooling and heating. A smart thermostat can help you manage that, like with our friends at APS. A smart thermostat, again, is going to be perfect when you're home, you're away. You can do it on your phone, a device, mobile app. APS customers, you can find instant rebates, discounts, and special offers on smart thermostats, energy-efficient appliances, and more. Marketplace.aps.com. Again, right now, APS customers may be eligible for smart thermostats as low as $0 when you enroll in the APS Cool Rewards program. If you have a smart thermostat already, see if your home is eligible for the Cool Rewards program. Plus, again, free installation is available. Marketplace.aps.com. Again, you got to be an APS customer. Other restrictions apply. Pay on shipping and taxes. Go to marketplace.aps.com for more info.
Getting back into our what ifs here on PHNX Cardinals. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Number 4, this is a fun one. This is one of the positives, even though it still hurts that it never happened. How about if Bruce Arians was able to get Steve Keim to get up the draft board, get ahead of those pesky Chiefs who were aggressively going to get Mahomes, and select the Texas Tech quarterback 10th overall in the 2017 NFL draft.
So the Cardinals in this scenario would not have Hassan Reddick. That's okay. They would have had a receiving core that at the time had Larry Fitzgerald, Michael Floyd still sticking around. You would have really had to convince Bruce Arians early with Mahomes that he was the right guy, with Carson Palmer set to have his final season. And a lot of us thought at the time, Bo, it was like, we know Carson Palmer's done. Get a quarterback this year. And again, had they gotten Mahomes and they traded up and, jumped the jumping Kansas City Chiefs, if you will, I think you would have talked about a team that consistently vying for the postseason. Early Mahomes, we forget, was so goated with the passing numbers, the big arm. I think he probably would have taken a lot of sacks in Arizona, but I think the offense would have continued, if not gotten better post Carson Palmer. Mahomes early in his tenure with Andy Reid and was putting up historic numbers. It's funny now. You think of Mahomes and it's like, he's good. He's solid in terms of like the regular season. It's not till the postseason where he really becomes special. So I can't sit here and say they win a Super Bowl though. Because the Hunt family, the infrastructure of Kansas City, they were already good before he got there. They had drafted elite players, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. It's like Mahomes with Bruce Arians and then a roster managed by Steve Keim, I think will still have limitations.
Yeah, I mean, still, I think personnel, as you were kind of talking about, one that fits Patrick Mahomes being able to kind of take the top off defenses with J.J. Nelson, how they drafted. You had John Brown. I know that was kind of towards the end of his tenure dealing with some health issues before he kind of reestablished himself post-Cardinals career. And then, as you mentioned, the aging Adrian or Larry Fitzgerald, they did finally get the Adrian Peterson thing right that season in 2017. They brought him back, just 10 years too late.
Hooray.
As an aged veteran, maybe a washed veteran at that point. David Johnson still was trying to, he was banged up like at the beginning of that season. It was a horrible season in 2017 for the health of your stars. So he doesn't get the luxury probably that he got in Kansas City to stand and watch because of the injury to Carson Palmer in 2017 when he broke his arm right in the international game.
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't set up as a conducive spot for a raw quarterback to come in and just learn. It's kind of thrown to the flames a little bit for Mahomes instead of easing him in like Andy Reid did. But I think you can give credit to BA. He was a guy that took guys with incredible skill sets and was able to mold them from, Roethlisberger to Luck to, so many of the quarterbacks that found success under him. Would he have stuck around though? Would he, even with Mahomes, would that have been intriguing enough for BA to stick around, post 2017. And what is it, if you have Mahomes in the fold, do you go out and get a defensive-minded head coach like they did in Steve Wilkes in 2018 offseason?
I think Arians would have stuck it out. I think he would have looked at the writing on the wall and like, I got a guy. I'm not going to pass this up. But maybe he always needed that year off to be able to reset before he went to Tampa Bay. I just think about it. Did you trust the Cardinals' infrastructure? I did not, outside of Arians. To me, it's like the Arizona Cardinals now are in such a good spot, and we talk about it daily on our show because of the head coach and GM combination. Again, and we're bullish on Kyler Murray and his opportunities this year, but you don't feel like the house is going to crumble. Like players, it's crazy. It's a player league, but players can only take you so far if you don't have the infrastructure to help them succeed. Very few Joe Burrow, he's not equivalent to Mahomes, but he's a top 3 to 5 quarterback in the NFL. He's out of the playoffs. He can't make the playoff because Cincinnati is so dysfunctional and their head coach is so average, right? They have no defensive personnel. Would that have been Patrick Mahomes? Would Patrick Mahomes have been Joe Burrow, early immediate success, and then just getting his ass kicked?
It's crazy. You bring up Burrow. It's like that's if Kyler Murray plays baseball, by the way. That was the quarterback the following year after the bad, probably second season in a Rosen.
Yeah.
Might be Joe Burrow wearing a Cardinals uniform, by the way. It would have been a really fun thing to see happen. I mean, can you imagine Patrick Mahomes and what he would have done for Ricky Seals-Jones? I mean, Ricky Seals-Jones could be dating Taylor Swift at this point.
That's right. We'll see. Still open. Still got a shot, Ricky. Let's keep things going here. Number 3, keeping it on the theme of Bruce Arians. How about this? The Chicago Bears smarten up and hire Bruce Arians. If you need a reminder, Arians wins Coach of the Year, taken over for the ill Chuck Pagano, is essentially now a free agent, hotshot candidate in 2013. The Bears interview him. They take him out to dinner. They're about ready to hire him. They say, we want you to run Tampa 2 defense. And Bruce is like, I'm bringing Todd Bowles with me. And they're like, we don't want you to do that. And they're like, we'll hire Mark Trestman. See you, Bruce. And we know how that ended up for the Chicago Bears. So the Cardinals were gifted Bruce Arians in their lap as the last coaching hire of that cycle, and unequivocally the best hire. But here's what I'll tell you. The Arizona Cardinals, if the Chicago Bears do hire Bruce Arians, the Arizona Cardinals are screwed. They're totally screwed because you look at the other coaches that were hired during that hiring cycle. So we mentioned Mark Trestman. Yeah. Mark Trestman had ties to the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Does Mark Trestman become a head coach for the Arizona Cardinals, Bo? Is that an option?
And he was a disaster class in Chicago. Awful. Right. He was terrible. He had no head coaching chops. He was a smart offensive mind. Was he the OC for the 96 team or the team that went to the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yes. So he was here in the Valley. But he made his way to the CFL. He was just kind of a journeyman coach, offensive mind for hire. And, they inexplicably hire him as their head coach there in Chicago. I also think, and we talked about this with the guys at CHGO, like they didn't like what we loved about Bruce Arians was how he had a sailor's mouth, right? He, lets it fly a little bit. And, obviously Chicago, they wanted the curse words edited out of Hard Knocks. Like the Mikowski family didn't appreciate that type of language. You watch the language.
That's hilarious for a pro team of just fully testosterone grown men running around.
It's much like the 2017 or the no Kyler Murray scenario. It's darker days for the franchise because what Bruce Arians brought in, it legitimized the Arizona Cardinals and made them relevant for a 5-year stint that he was here. And I know like it kind of fizzled out, but 2013, 14, 15, and going in the 16 with a legitimate Super Bowl contenders, that era never happens. And, it's even longer trudge trying to jumpstart football in the Valley.
I don't want to call people out on an article that was written 12 years ago. But Ryan Van Bibber, who no longer has a Twitter account, wrote an article for SB Nation, and he ranked the head coaching hires of 2013. I just want to quickly go through these with you, friends.
Yeah.
And I was incorrect earlier. Andy Reid was the best hire of that cycle. He was number one.
Yeah.
So he ranked Andy Reid number one. Number two, the best hire of that cycle, Chip Kelly, Philadelphia Eagles. How about
man.
Number three.
How's it not going to work?
Tressman's number three for the Chicago Bears. Then we've got Gus Bradley, Jaguars, horrific nightmare head coach. Mike McCoy, the middling Mike McCoy, goes to the Chargers in San Diego. Then we've got Doug Marrone going to the Buffalo Bills. And then at 7, something called Rob Chudzinski goes to the Cleveland Browns. All the way last on this list, a certain eventual Super Bowl winning head coach, Bruce Arians, 8th out of 8, according to Rob Van Bibber. I was going to see what Rob's up to these days. He's not on Twitter anymore. He probably had to quit after that article was published.
Yeah, not great. Not a great just coaching class overall. I mean, BA, Andy Reid, really the only ones worth crap in this. I think Chudzinski was one and done. And then, like, we know about Mike McCoy. We saw the after for Mike McCoy and his 7-year-old boy haircut that he sported as a 50-year-old man and just would run dives into the teeth of the defense.
Really bad.
Like it's a dark day if the Cardinals don't do it. I don't know if they go Tressman, but there weren't any other options unless it was just like Bruce Arians, where it's just like a blessing in disguise. And a blind squirrel finds a nut, and it turns out to be success.
This is where the show gets painful, so buckle up, friends. This is not for the faint of heart. Number 2 on the what if segment here. What if Larry Fitzgerald tackles James Harrison in the Super Bowl? Super Bowl 43, James Harrison famously pick 6 in the end zone off of Kurt Warner, jumping in a potential touchdown to Anquan Bolden. Harrison then turns into, peak Walter Payton running the length of the field, and Cardinals can't tackle him. Fitz has probably one of the better chances, and Harrison was able to shrug him off. And I think Fitz was also kind of blocked by one of the Cardinals tackles indirectly, maybe Mike Gandy, Deuce Latui. So I'll just answer this off the top. I think they win the Super Bowl. I think they win the Super Bowl. I think that if that pick 6 doesn't happen, Cardinals at least go into half with a lead. I think with a field goal there, if I'm remembering correctly, like I think they go into, or it's tied 10-10. If they score there, then it's a completely different story. I think the Cardinals win the Super Bowl because if you remember, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, like were not productive offensively for 3+ quarters in that game. So, the second half might have changed their approach in terms of like how aggressive they were. And we saw late in the fourth quarter, the Cardinals couldn't stop them when they opened up the passing game. But I think that pick 6 was certainly the difference. Duh, Johnny, of course it was. I think the Cardinals win.
And I believe it was Antrell Roll who infamously was somebody on the sidelines that kind of bumped or ruined the angle for Fitz.
Okay.
And there's always talk like, if Antrell Roll is not kind of popped off the sideline, Fitz easily takes down James Harrison. Now, we don't know that. If they don't get the pick 6 and the PAT following, we go into the locker rooms in a Bruce Springsteen halftime show, and it's 10-7. And the Steelers have a 3-point lead, but as we saw, the Cardinals defense puts the clamps down in the third quarter. They hold them to a field goal, and then they need to score, on the final drive. But before that, they were blanked in the fourth quarter. So I think this is like kind of the true turning point, like what if that should exist. Like if they take him down, I think that that's the butterfly effect that turns into the Cardinals holding a parade down Central Avenue here in Phoenix, Arizona. And Larry Fitzgerald is cemented as just a titan of the game, not just here in the Valley.
Yeah, and I misspoke. Like, the interception, the half would have ended at 10-7, duh. But if they hadn't thrown that interception to begin with, like the Cardinals at worst get a field goal and it's 10-10. Right. But interception, he tackles him. I don't remember, like I can watch parts of Super Bowl 43. I can't watch that play. So it's like I couldn't tell you who blocked Fitz. It's gut wrenching. I can't, this. I can't listen to Bruce Springsteen either. You gotta
go to the biopic.
Yeah, I don't think so. Even with Cousin from the Bear, I can't do it. That leads us into what if number 1 alongside that. And this one's a little easier for me to stomach. I'll tell you why in a second. What if Santonio Holmes, number 1, His toes never touched.
Look at this graphic.
It's unbelievable.
He's way out.
Noah, man, doing the Lord's work here. I think I know how you feel about this. Let me just get this off my chest here. For anybody who wants to go back and relive that red zone appearance, this was in second down from the 6-yard line, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you right now, they had faced 1 3rd down the entire drive. They picked up chunk plays like it was easy. I know the defense played well in the second half. When Mahomes, Roethlisberger turned it on, the Cardinals had no shot. So how do I think the Super Bowl would have finished had he been out of bounds? I think it would have been even more painful because they would have scored a touchdown either on 3rd or 4th down. I firmly believe that. I was numb by that point. Aaron Francisco in coverage, nightmare world. Antro Roll was out of position. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie couldn't hang with Santonio Holmes. Dockett was gassed. He had 3 sacks in that game. I don't think it matters. I think they score anyway. Roethlisberger, and I mentioned this in an article, gophnx.com, the maneuverability and his mobility in the pocket, the Cardinals had no answer for that. They had faced 3 quarterbacks, including an old McNabb in the postseason, Jake Delhomme and Matt Ryan, that couldn't move really in the pocket. Roethlisberger, at that time, you can make an argument, was maybe the most mobile quarterback in the NFL, not named Michael Vick. So it was always inevitable, I think, that they were going to score if you watch that drive.
What a wet blanket, man. Just not willing to play the what if game. Truly, like if he doesn't toe tap there, then it has to be
3rd and 6 at the 6-yard.
3rd and 6. You need a negative play. You need, they're able to get an incompletion on 1st down.
Yeah.
Can they force another one? You're still back against your wall, against the wall on 4th down, but and it have to be because of the sheer just size and as you're describing, it's tough to take Big Ben down. Probably a 9-0 or a Bertrand Berry needs to step up and put him to the turf and bump him back instead of 4th and 6. It's 4th and 10, 4th and 12. And, you're able to get a desperation heave to the end zone, break it up. Then that's when you get the old parade down central. That's when Larry Fitzgerald is not just, looked at kindly in the history of the NFL. They're not going to omit him from the ESPN, all quarter century team. He goes down as legitimately one of the greatest receivers of all time and gets his deserved flowers, not just from us, but from everybody else. I mean, that is the playoff performance of NFL receivers in NFL history. I mean, it already is. He left the field and his defense couldn't make the stop. But Larry Fitzgerald is the owner of the best postseason performance ever. I think it would get its flowers more often if it was the go-ahead and eventual game-winning score.
No doubt about it. And again, they scored on that prior drive 64 seconds. I mean, again, I put this in my article. I think the defense, when they got that Dockett sack, I think they're with under 3 minutes left. They're well, we're good. The offense is. They're either going to go downfield and get it done or not get it done, but we're going to be coming in maybe for a Hail Mary situation or a kneel down situation. I mean, think about it. They came in and it was we were just out here and they were gassed. And then they started that drive with a holding penalty. Adrian Wilson forced a holding penalty. It's 1st and 20. It did. I'm telling everybody, if you watch it, it does not matter. The Cardinals could.
It was a hot knife through butter. It was.
Santonio Holmes had 5 targets or 8 targets and 5 catches or something like that. I mean, it's something ridiculous.
And it wasn't just Francisco. DRC I think was not great. It was just
They were out of gas. The defense had been on the field for over 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was standouts. They were inevitable. Unfortunately,
it was. The Cardinals. They needed to bleed the clock. And again, I go back to this stat: the Steelers had not given up 300 yards in a game all season. And Warner throws for 300 yards alone. So it's if the Cardinals were going to go down and score on Pittsburgh, you assumed it was going to be ugly. It was going to be 3, 4th down, multiple conversions. I mean, the Cardinals defense is as bad as they were on that final drive. They played about as good as they could.
Yeah.
It just didn't have enough. And it's the conclusion of our what ifs here on PHNX Cardinals. Which was your favorite what if? Drop it down in the chat. Let us know, man. Oh man, what a list for the ages, Bo.
What did we miss too? Drop that in the comments as well.
Thinking like honorable mentions. That's tough to do. Like recency bias. Like what if the Cardinals take like CeeDee Lamb over Isaiah Simmons? What if the Arizona Cardinals? Oh man. There's some good recent ones for sure. What if they don't hire Cliff Kingsbury? I think they hire Adam Gase, which is even more of a disaster. Like,
what if they don't move to the Valley? What if the Bidwills don't move them in the late '80s to Tempe? But that's a way bigger question.
What if the stadium's in downtown Phoenix? Like a lot of people thought it should be. Really good questions. Are we talking a little safeties before we get out of here?
Let's get into a quick position preview with a position group that we're pretty confident, if not the most stout on the Arizona Cardinals going into 2025, of course, anchored by Budda Baker. Let's take a look at the Cardinals safety room. Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, and then I think a newcomer to the not necessarily to the field, but Rabbit Taylor Demerson, I think we're pretty confident is going to get more snaps in year 2 and make a bigger impact as a 4th rounder at Texas Tech.
Yeah, this group has been one of the most loaded position groups on the team. And again, Budda Baker was prioritized by this franchise to bring him back. I think a lot of us want to see him as a career Cardinal. I think he's got a shot to do that now. To me now, you put Budda Baker off to the side and you know what you're getting every single year. Jalen Thompson now has a target on his back from a 4th rounder last year that is younger, maybe more athletic, and certainly less expensive. And so Rabbit Taylor Demerson, to me, it was very unfortunate for Rabbit because last year we saw a rookie class that underwhelmed, but a lot of guys got opportunities. Marv, Darius, Max Melton, bunch of guys played. Tip Ryman, Isaiah Adams. I would argue, had the Cardinals had an opening at safety and he just came in and was able to establish himself in a vulnerable position group, kind of like Cody Simon, I think, has a chance to do this year at off-ball linebacker. I think Rabbit Taylor Demerson could have been the most impactful rookie for the Cardinals last year. You just saw it on tape, his ability to take the football away, his speed. So it's going to be not if, but when he gets into the starting lineup. 3 safety sets. Nick Rallis said they were going to run that. He told us the combine. But eventually that spot manned by Jalen Thompson is going to be Rabbit Taylor Demerson's. And when he gets in there, you're looking at, in my opinion, we're going to be watching like the NFL Top 100. He will be in that group. He has that kind of ability. The Cardinals hit a home run with this pick. And so that position group is in great hands. And by the way, I think Jalen Thompson's going to play better this year. He was hurt last year.
Yeah, just by having a little fresher legs, being more available, I think that bodes well for JT. And this was a position like when Gannon came over, obviously former safety himself at the collegiate level and knows how to coach the position. There's a lot of trust in Patrick Toney, who's also their safeties coach. But who can emerge, like who can be that CJ Gardner-Johnson who had 6 picks in JG's final season in Philly in 2022? Who's going to be the ball hawking part of this guy? And who has the most upside to do so? And I don't think anybody looks towards Budda. Budda plays a different role. And outlined by Mina Kynes, he's asked to do a lot of different things instead of just playing safety and sit back there in the outfield. But JT or Rabbit Taylor Demerson, one of them is going to have to get their hands on some footballs in order to do what they want to do defensively. But still, a stout group. They also have some key special teamers on that group, and Joey Blunt. And we'll see what happens with Keaton Crawford, 7th round pick out of Nevada, who's also a part of this position group. But like as far as the top of this, there's not a whole lot of moving. It's like you Sharpie them in, but with Rabbit Taylor Demerson, I think a guy that just he's going to be undeniable as far as you can't take him off the field as much as you did in 2024.
Yeah, he was the I believe, as I check it in real time, the highest rated rookie safety last year or amongst them. He had a 75.5 overall grade. His run defense, 80.6, and his coverage grade was 70. And again, it's just 5'11", 200 pounds. I think he's a little older too. I think he's about 24 years old. So he's only separated by Jalen Thompson by about 2 years, but he is primed and ready to play. And the Cardinals will see that at training camp this year. You'll see that if you're in attendance at State Farm Stadium. There's a young man that's going to, I think, not only take the baton from Jalen Thompson, but eventually he's going to take it from Budda Baker and just be the stalwart alongside the rest of these young DBs. He's in the category with Max Melton, Garrett Williams, Will Johnson, where it's like this is the new era of Cardinal defensive back play.
He's got, as you mentioned, the physical traits. You know, he's a guy that can fly around, but he can hit too, and he can process. And to think that he's going into year 2 with a year under his belt at the NFL level, you know, this is gonna be a guy that's gonna be ready for serious PT. Are they gonna be able to find a way to do it? 3 safety look, and also maybe take away from somebody else, and it's not going to be Budda Baker. So, gotta love it though. I mean, this is good problems to have. These are champagne problems when it comes to the safety room and having too many good players.
Absolutely. We got no problems on this show because we're live every single day. The rest of this week at 4:30. Drop us a comment, leave us a like, and again, let us know what you're looking forward to out of the safety room. And of course, give us your up-to-date, most recent what if for the Arizona Cardinals. What if they don't make the playoffs this year? Are we going to be doing this show? Hopefully. Of course we will. But in the meantime, big thanks to everybody. Big thanks to our guy, Noah, man, making those tremendous graphics. And of course, become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. For Bo, I'm Johnny. We'll see you manana. Peace.
We all city like the mayor.